Hello everyone and welcome to my first YouTube essay. You may notice that it is dark outside now because I've taken about 2 hours to figure out how to actually work the laptop and I've given up. So I'm recording this on my iPhone and I hope that the audio comes out okay. Anyway, I am here today to talk about my two loves, Love Island, the famous UK reality TV show where you send 5 boys and 5 girls and they fall in love, and of course classical antiquity, so the world of gods and mortals, Odysseus, Homer, Virgil, everything in between. The first link between them is that in Love Island, obviously we have Ian Stirling, who is the much loved narrator, and he is commenting on all of the activities of the islanders.
It's been an enlightening evening for the populace of the villa, awash with the trials and tribulations of the human heart.
We also have our role as the public, and we can vote in and out the contestants.
For their favourite couple. The couples with the fewest votes are at risk of being dumped from the island tonight.
What is the link here with classical epics? Well, of course, in classical epics like the Odyssey, we track the journey of mortals such as Odysseus going through a tricky journey, and their fate, of course, is decided by the gods in the sky.
Let Achilles fight for honour. Let Agamemnon fight for power, and let the gods decide which man to glorify.
Ian Stirling, as the narrator of Love Island, is almost like the herald in a Greek tragedy. So, for example, we have Agamemnon, who is, which is one of Aeschylus's most famous plays. And right at the beginning, we have the herald who comes and announces what has happened in this specific day and what is about to happen. Of course, we have exactly the same with Ian Stirling, who's always about to announce what is going to happen or to recap what happened in last night's episode.
Tomorrow night, our relationship hits the rocks.
The second point I would like to make is that, of course, Love Island is all about love. But whereas we often don't associate the trials and tribulations that the Love Island contestants go through with Greek tragedy, they of course have already been played out in all of the most famous plays penned by Sophocles, Euripides or Aeschylus. For example, one of the major tropes that we see in Love Island is the story of the jilted woman.
For me, absence made the heart grow fonder. For you, it was out of sight, out of mind.
That's not true. That's not true.
You got with other girls while I was away.
Yes, but that isn't true.
Now, we have seen this in Greek tragedy time and time again, but perhaps the most famous example is that of Medea. For those who don't know, Medea is a play written by a few tragedians, but most famously by Euripides, about a witch from Colchis called Medea, who has saved Jason, as in Jason of the Argonauts, in her youth. They have got married and had 2 children, and she is very in love with him. However, to her dismay, he cheats on her with a princess called Creusa because he thinks that Creusa will get him more respect in society because she is of a higher social standing than Medea.
I'm glad you're here. Makes me stronger in my loathing just to see you. Just to show you what you've made of me. Look at me! I saved your fetid, useless life. I loved you like no woman has loved before. I abandoned my father. I slaughtered my brother. Have you forgotten? I gave you sons. I bled them out for you, and you have thrown me away. You have turned everything upside down.
Now, of course, this is very Love Island. Often we'll see characters leaving the person that they were coupled up with because they might think that someone else will give them a better chance in the public vote.
I feel like I'm probably one of the least favourites in it.
Why did you say that?
Been in the bottom three times.
Yeah, but that's...
Yeah, so
It's very Jason and Crusoe in my opinion. Curtis, of course, is also like Jason when he tries to defend his actions. He has nothing to say.
That breaks my heart. I was so loyal to you and you couldn't give that back to me.
Perhaps an even more common scenario that we see in Love Island, and which of course is prefigured in classical texts, is that of the love triangle. Now, in classical antiquity, the most famous example of this is of course in the Odyssey. As Odysseus is making his journey home to his beloved Penelope, his wife who has stayed loyal to him for 20 years, something that I think no Love Islander has done yet, but we'll see what happens. He is tempted by a witch called Circe, and Circe drugs him and makes him try to forget about his homegirl, Penelope.
Who are you?
Circe.
Circe the witch.
That's such an ugly word. Why not goddess?
This, of course, is a very Love Island situation. So in the middle of the show, as all Love Island fans will know, we see all the boys taken to one house called Casa Amor, and the girls stay in another house, and new boys and new girls come in to tempt them. Now, sometimes, as in with poor Amy Hart, they stray, but a lot of the time they are like Odysseus. The final link that I would like to draw to your attention is that of the screwed over lover who then finds someone new, which is a very exciting tale for us all. Of course, in Love Island, this happens all the time. So again, I don't know why I keep talking about season 5. It must be my favourite. Amber, who is one of my favourite Love Islanders of all time, gets cruelly screwed over by this not very nice man called Michael. Michael, I'm sure you're lovely, but yeah, he doesn't treat her very well. And then she goes on to win the show with her new love interest, Greg, because I think she wins. They haven't been together that long, but everyone is just so delighted that they figured it out.
The winners of Love Island 2019 are Greg and Amber!
Now, of course, this has many retellings in classical antiquity, but the most famous is that of Ariadne and Dionysus. For those who are not familiar and who don't love Ovid as much as I do, Ariadne is most famous in her journey to help Theseus, as in Theseus and the Minotaur. She gives him some wool when he goes into the maze, and he has to use it to track his way out before killing the Minotaur and saving thousands of lives. Now, unfortunately, on their way back to Athens, which is where Theseus is from, he kind of decides that he's had enough of her and leaves her on Naxos. It's unfortunate. Fortunately for her though, Dionysus, as in the god of wine, finds her and carries her to the stars, and she becomes a queen. And that's very much what I think happens to Amber in season 5. So for those of you who are still watching, I'm not sure if anyone would have made it this far, those are the strong parallels between the UK reality TV show Love Island and classical antiquity. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.